Hello, everyone, and welcome to the More Sugar Podcast, where we have conversations to help heal and encourage. For all my new listeners, um, I started the More Sugar Podcast as an extension of my book. What was my book? Oh, Sugar and My Grits, Grief to Gratitude to Grace. I released it in the middle of a pandemic, and I didn't have a book signing. I'm gonna stop using that as an excuse. I might just add something to the book as a 5-year anniversary and just go on the book tour. I think I'm gonna do that. Well, today's guest I have Dr. Chenille Johnson. She just got her PhD. Chenille is a mother, a wife, not just a regular wife. She's a military wife, which I've seen firsthand is a lot of work. And aside from just recently getting her doctorate, Chenille's also a published author. She wrote a book, which I thought was a great perspective, being in a military family, moving around a lot. The book is called Bark, I'm Moving, and it comes from the perspective of their dog Pepsi, and it's his lens of how the family moves. And I think it's a great children's book. So if you guys have time, pick it up. Bark, I'm Moving, available on Amazon and wherever books are sold at this point. So that was Chanel.
Yes.
What did you Okay. Before you tell me what you got your doctorate in, I like to give a little perspective. So me and Chanel might have conversations that or little things that we mentioned that people could be like, what are they talking about? And in no way does what I'm about to say take away from who she is. But I always like to give somebody a perspective. And so if you know me, and you know my family story, and you know why I wrote the book, Sugar My Grits, Grief to Gratitude Through Grace. It was about me grieving several deaths, but the main one being the murder of my cousin Nadia. Chanel is Nadia's brother's wife. So if if there was a car accident, once the police get to the scene, if you have 5 witnesses, police will give 5 different stories. It's like the Bible. That's why every disciple tells their version of events. And so my book was my version of events. So everybody has a different perspective. I just want to kind of give everyone a background of who Chanel is to me. Like I just didn't I randomly pick people, but during her dissertation, what sat out the most for me was she said something about resilience, and I'll go to that. But the committee, the guy said in the committee that he had never ever, I don't know how long he had been doing it, but he had never seen this many people show up for a dissertation. And I know showing up means a lot to Chanel. So I know that made her feel amazing. So without further ado, Dr. Johnson, can you tell us about your PhD? I know you're still getting used to it.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for having me, Amanda. But I will say this. I still don't know how many people were there. So, but thank you for
It was a
coming.
lot. It was a lot of people. I went to
I
scroll through just to
know.
see when he
I
made the
know.
comment. I was like, wow. It was like a company teams meeting.
Oh my gosh. So, let me say this. So my doctorate is in community care and counseling with a specialization in traumatology. So, a lot right there. Every
Traumatology. I didn't even know that was a word. Let me
yes,
write that
every
out. I'm good at taking notes. Traumatology.
yeah. So
Wow.
I think, okay, how the hell did I get here? But I can tell you how I got here. So we did what, 2025?
Yep.
So in 2020, I'm a federal worker, so I changed from, well, within the same agency, I changed jobs, but let's just say moving towards 2021, I was doing surveys for medical trainees. And we all know in 2020 it was a lot going on. And in
Hmm.
that moment when I was gathering all the surveys, a couple of things came across to me. Information is outdated, and I'm the only one gathering these anonymous surveys, so I know who they're coming from. Um, Information is outdated, and what stood out to me the most was how is what we're learning, or how are we going to be able to use that to apply to situations such as the Black Lives Matter movement? And I was so angry, and so don't make decisions on when your emotions are high,
Yeah.
because I literally came home. I said, "Babe, I need to go back to school," and
Wow.
I was angry. Now, years earlier, I thought about going back to school for my doctorate while we were in Germany, but I was like, no, whatever. And that's when I got my second master's in education. But this time around, I was like, no. I said, this is too much because there is a lack of representation here, and I'm mad now because
Hmm.
I'm like, my children been seen here, and these trainees are saying this, and they're going to go out and treat other children that look like mine. I'm like, no,
Right.
we need some representation, and there is very limited. And when I say representation, looking like me, the color that I am. And I was just
Yes.
thinking, like, this cannot be. So I went back to school, and of course, traumatology sounded real good. But I would say it was a very eye-opening, interesting experience, and I'll probably talk about it a little more. But it was, yeah. I went back to school,
How long
and
did it take?
I started May 2021, so about 3.5, almost 3.5 years. So I wrote it, my dissertation. I would say my dissertation took 11 months to write, and it was some
So all
moments,
those times, yeah, all those times I was seeing you on the plane with your laptop,
planes,
on the
trains,
beach
all them over
with
there.
your
Yes,
laptop, on the
yes,
passenger side, and
yes.
I could say like I watched you take, I
Mhm.
watched you, and you just didn't you. I seen you everywhere, at breakfast, at the all inclusive, probably hungover, typing.
Yeah. And you know
That's
what? I will
commitment.
say, it was some people that did not necessarily understand that. Okay, all right, what's she doing? I'm doing work. And I'll tell anybody, like, y'all see me with my laptop everywhere. I was on the cruise last year working off of my cell phone just so I would not have to buy another internet package to be on my laptop.
That's right.
So, yeah, I was just like, I couldn't, no, I was one of those people who's like, I still wanted to enjoy my life. No, we're still going to go out. Nope, we got to cut it off at a certain time. I got to be at the house. I got something to do. And some people understood that, and some people didn't understand that, but it is what it is. And then there was moments where I was able to have conversations with some people about whatever I was writing, because like I said, specialization was in trauma, and that's a lot. And when we think about trauma, we think about, oh, something of a physical injury we can see. We're not talking about
Right.
inside, So I appreciate those who had those deep conversations with me, just in general. And a lot of times, some people needed to have a conversation. So then we got those who shied away and just like, okay. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm doing homework. I got to go. So,
Right. You down or not?
yeah, and that's what it was. But I will say, from the very beginning, when I said, babe, I'm going back to school, he's like, you sure? I said, yeah. Now, mind you, there was no plan. And I'll tell anybody, I wasn't like, oh, yeah, I'm about to go back to school. This is what I'm doing. I just literally went on anger because I was mad. And here it is, quote unquote, full circle moment. Because
Mhm.
we had to,
Are you still mad, or do you feel better that you get to do something about it?
um, I think it's a different kind of mad because at 2020, we were dealing with certain things, a lot of injustice against, black people out in the street and all this stuff. And now it's just like, we just about to tear everything down. And it's just like you sitting at on the edge of your bed with your shoulders. That picture with the black woman has no face. She has on a white nightgown. The background is blue, and she's on the edge of the bed, like her shoulders is just up because you're just trying to figure everything out. And it's just like you're trying to tear everything down. So right now, it's more. It's not just black people that's dealing with it. It's
Yes.
more, so it's like a different thing. And now seeing more and more children are just like questioning, like, what in the world is going on? Because now a lot of things
Hmm.
affecting them. So,
That goes in that I love when things line up because that kind of slides like right into my first question because us not only just us as black people but women we're always expected to show up and right no matter how we feel no matter what we've been through we're always expected to show up and something that stuck out for me during your dissertation was when you said we have to be resilient but at what cost.
hmm
And the crazy me and Tracy was having a conversation about that a couple of days ago and I just want to say has being resilient cost you something that you can't get back?
yes. So let me go back a little bit about resilience because as a military family and having military kids, always hear on this, oh, the resilient, they're so resilient, it's so resilient. So literally I was thinking, one way I was thinking about one topic for my dissertation. And I kept playing around like, okay, about moving around and how it affects da 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 da. And I was just like, it just came to me like, Chanel, you sitting right up in here and you see all this stuff going on up in here. Here's your platform right here. Behavioral health with these military kids, and let's focus on the black ones. Okay, so
Right.
I'm like, okay, resilience. So in my office, I literally got on my board at what cost. So I was
Ooh.
asking my colleagues, different techniques they're using, like going through different theories. Because I work with social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and so everyone adheres to different ethic boards or whatever. So I'm just having these conversations with them because they're in deep. They're in the thick of it every single day. So I'm literally,
Right.
I can talk to certain topics, I can touch it, but that's their field. So I'm having
Right.
these conversations, and then I was thinking about different theories, and I was like, it dawned on me. I was like, Shell, look this one up. Is there a theory for that? I was like, oh my God, it's actually a theory for this. And so I'm doing all this research for it, and it was like based on like children of schizophrenic mothers, and then it had changed to the adverse outcomes and basically the support systems. I was like, you know what? That's what it is right there. So when you ask me the question about at what cost did I, sacrifice, I did because we were married young, and the hood is the hood. So
Mhm.
I don't know if I want to call it was a hood love, but we were not necessarily in love. We had love for each other. So my resilience, I did sacrifice. I sacrificed those childhood friendships.
How old were you when you got married?
Oh Lord, we were married at 22, 21, 21,
21.
21 years old. We were 21, yeah, because we was going to be 22 that year. So we were married at 21, and I already had the oldest by then. So it was just like, okay, are we going to do this? Okay, let's go ahead and do it. And it was literally, it wasn't no, we gonna get down on bended knee. We're doing all this. It was like, you good? Like we wanted to go to the corner store and get something from the store. Like, all
Yeah,
right,
like
let's
you ready, like, let's ride. Let's ride.
and that's what we did. So with me riding out, I rode out. So
Yeah, and you left everything behind.
I left everything behind, and it took a lot. And I remember one time when our first duty station, that which would have been what, his third or fourth or whatever at that time, but our first as a married couple, and it was just like, you want to go back home? I don't want to go back home. It's like,
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here now.
and I'm just like, my those childhood friendships, those people you grow up with, and y'all just kicking it and just chilling, is just something that I sacrificed for the relationship in the military.
So you gave up your life, your those 20s that everybody talk about.
Child, them 20s here now though. In the forties,
No, I know that's right. We I get a double back and I still got my man, my man, my man.
we outside.
We outside. So what are you gonna do with the doctorate?
So let me tell you, like I said, I was mad, and I'm like representation. And 2021 me thought I can have a seat at the table. And as time has went on, and in I would say in the middle, and as I got closer to finish, I realized I'm not gonna ever have a seat at their table. Ever.
Mm.
Because they don't want some people at their table. And I actually said this to one of the black psychiatrists I work with. I told her that, and she just was like almost was in tears that I told her that, and she said, "Why do you feel like that?" I said, "When we are in meetings together and I speak up, you may be the only one that acknowledge me when everybody else is
Wow.
side eyeing me." I said, "So there's your answer right there." So I may have to create my own table. I don't
I
need
was
to
gonna
be
say
over
that.
there.
Yeah.
I don't need
I
to
have
be
a
over there.
friend. I have a friend that I went to high school with,
Hmm.
and she got her doctorate a couple of years ago. Her and her husband, and it's called Young Folks. She did with adolescent kids,
Mm.
and Jax designed her logo for her, and she started her own business.
And that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I have another friend. She doesn't have a doctorate. She's a therapist, and during COVID, everybody had their own feelings about what we have to do to stay employed.
Right.
She didn't agree, so she went in and started. So you have to build your own. She's been doing well ever since. And there's not many black therapists out
Oh,
there.
it's not. It's not. And then it's hard because a lot of the black therapists don't accept insurance.
Yeah, they want to, and it's especially without insurance.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. And so when I told her that this was 2 maybe 3 weeks ago, and she was like emotional, and she said this is a full circle moment for me because they actually put cultural psychiatry a part of their didactics. And I was initially asked to be a part of this a year ago. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
ever came of it. So when I seen everything, I was just like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm side eyeing it or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's cool because I already know what it is. So when me and her have that closed door conversation in my office and she's emotional, she was like, you know, I want you to come in and talk about your dissertation this afternoon in our didactics because this week it is about African Americans and behavioral health. And I just looked at her, I was like, you sure? She said, yeah, I want you in there. And I was very surprised. But I went in there and I
Mm-hmm.
spoke up and I actually told them what my findings is. And
Right.
because there's only very few minorities that are in the that we have as trainees for this cohort, 2-year cohort. So I literally told them what it is because it's the reality. And knowing
Right.
they're going to graduate soon out of this program, and you're going to see kids that look like me. So
What was their reaction?
some engaged, some sat back. Of course, they did. As we went on through the discussion, I took note, mental note, that wording some such as the diaspora, some didn't even know what that was, or understanding the health disparities.
Mm-hmm.
So the lens.
They got y'all don't know.
Mhm. Yep. So the lens that they see mental and behavioral health is totally different. And like I said in my paper, um, not everyone is coming in there for okay, just like, oh, I have anxiety, what's going on in school. There's some shit going on outside. that's affecting these kids, and that especially what's going to be going on. I was thinking we're going to be seeing more and more kids coming through this clinic, and it ain't going
If
to be
their
nothing
parents
nice.
send them.
So it has been very interesting. And then I said I'm gonna start going in there every week as long as they have that cultural psychiatry. I'm right up in there, and I'm up there
So this,
sharing too.
so this is like you being mad all over again. Like you was mad enough to go to school to get your doctorate, and now you're done. You're mad enough to start your own.
Yeah.
So anger is clearly what infused you. Piss Chanel off, and she gonna build something.
I'm up here. I need to go in the corner somewhere because I'm like, I tell anybody, don't make a decision on your emotions. And here I am, like, no, ma'am. Mm-mm. What happened?
And I always know, like, no matter what question I write, it jumps because of the answers. And because you said that you lost your 20s, basically, something that you couldn't get back. And then I realized that one of my questions was like, you've been married for a very long time. And it was like, how do you not lose yourself in that? So somewhere along the way, if you lost yourself getting married,
I did.
somewhere in that journey, you had to find yourself again.
Let me tell you, it was not too long after your cousin retired, and we got into a very heated argument. And so we're over 20 years at this point. No, we're yeah, we're over 20 years at this point. And I said, I have sacrificed my whole self, mind, body, and spirit. And I don't know I can't say it no other way
Right.
because I wanted to make sure everyone was good, to include you.
Yes. Yes.
Because I always felt like with him, I want to make sure you good. Are you
I watched
okay?
that over the years. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you
I think
okay?
at his retirement party, I think I thanked you more than I was
Did.
happy he was
And you
retiring.
cried. You broke down
Because
and cried.
because not only did you stand by his side and military wives sacrifice a lot, the family you was in.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm like, I sacrificed. And I'm sitting here like, I done gained 1,000,000 pounds of weight. I'm like, from the hood, we ain't driving. We walking, we catching the bus, we doing whatever. And I'm like, now
Right.
we done moved here. I gotta be driving. But over the years, I never realized I was gaining weight to
Mm-hmm.
the point where, you get dressed, you look in the mirror. There was no looking in the mirror. It was get
Mm.
dressed and go.
Right.
So by time I said to myself in January 2023, you need to get your shit in order. Mind, body, and spirit. Now that the kids are young adults, they have graduated high school, we're all going through a transition period of them becoming young adults, kids out of the military. You got to get your shit in order. Mind, body, and spirit. And I say that also because fast forward months later, my coworker, she always tell me, she said, I'm your elder. She is, but we like girls. But she's like, I'm your elder. And she said, I'm telling you this, sister to sister. She said, I need you to get your therapist. I need you to get a therapist now. She said, because I need for you to have a seat at the table. And she said, you don't need none of your childhood shit slipping out in front of nobody.
Ooh.
She said, I
Ooh.
need a therapist. I went home, I did my homework assignment, and I came back and told her I got me a therapist. Now, did I keep them motherfuckers a different story?
You got rid of the therapist?
I ain't had no choice. I was like, I'm not gonna be sitting here giving you information. So yeah, but that's another story. But I was just like, I had to get myself in order, and a lot of that came with because what we know how to do best is survive. And
Mm-hmm. Resilience.
if anything was passed down to me as a
Mm-hmm.
curse, it was
Right.
surviving. Because here I am on the seesaw going back and forth to surviving and thriving, and one little thing can put me off when I slide from thriving back to surviving. And I had a couple of years ago, I put a note on my wall, and the oldest took it, and I was like, dang, for 2 years I didn't know where my damn note went because it was for me, because it was something that the oldest did that triggered me. And it was in
Uh-huh.
that moment that I had an aha moment. That's when Oprah started talking about aha moments. And that's when I had an
Mm-hmm.
aha moment and realized my children's victories and accomplishments are my adult triggers due to my unresolved childhood trauma.
Wow.
Yep. I had an aha moment over that.
Wow.
So
Again,
before
that
I
goes
yeah,
that goes that goes to the next question. I was that it just you're just good at this. It's just like so then I seen on your page the Viola Davis quote, and it says, "First enemy of a child is an unhealed parent."
mm,
And as at what point do you think you weren't your kid's enemy? Like when did it click for you that if I'm going to be a great mom, I need to get some help for my stuff? Because like you said, you was a young mother.
yes, young mother, and so I literally like Viola Davis, her book. If you have not read it or listened to it,
I gotta read that.
raw. If you have an opportunity to just even, I would say, listen to her book. Yes. So honestly, I think versus reading it, listen to it
Right.
because she's reading in the book and it's raw. So the other day I had saw a snippet of somebody's podcast, and I said, well, let me go listen to the whole thing. And when she said that, I said, man, if I don't feel that in my spirit. And I said, as a I am an unhealed parent.
Mm.
I said I am because here it is. There was no plan. All right, we're gonna plan to have kids. Nothing we did was traditional. Nothing we did was traditional at all. So it's
Right.
just like here it is. But here I don't know I'm unhealed because everything we went through was normal. We don't realize it's not normal until we get older.
Right. So when you
So
give your kid something different, you're like, wait, this is
yep,
not what that means. What I went through wasn't normal.
yep. Hence the triggers.
Right. So you said you stopped going to therapy. Will you go back to therapy?
No, I'm going back. I had to
Okay.
stop because I was I don't want to say I was about to check a bitch, but I was about to check a bitch. But at the same time, I'm sitting here like, girl, you're not gonna be asking me questions, and I'm up here helping you. Who providing the service to who?
So some of her stuff got intertwined with yours.
Yeah, and I was just like,
Wow. So maybe was it maybe they weren't unhealed. Maybe they weren't healed.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I would believe that, and it was funny because she had changed right at the time I had stopped with her. She changed agencies, which was cool, and she kept on texting me, and I'm thinking like, girl, I'm gonna find somebody else because this was a bit much. So
Not me having to shrink my therapist.
So I told my coworker, who's a therapist, she said, you better let her go. You better let her go right now. Yes.
See,
I
y'all
was
see
like,
that?
man.
These therapists out here bleeding on people.
I was like,
Why?
yes, ma'am. She was like,
Do we get
no.
like a trial
She
period
said,
before
ain't
you
no way in
decide
the
if you
world. She said, you better let her go.
we
Hmm.
get like a trial period before we decide if we like the therapist, right? You like after 2 visits, but you like, oh, I don't think this is gonna work. But then how many times do you want to do that before you find the right? It's like getting on medication.
Yeah, because you're tired of telling your daggone story over and over and over. It
Yeah,
depends on where you start at. It's like, I ain't got time for this. I
yeah.
really don't have time for this. So it took, I think it was my last session with her. That's the point. She had like she tried to pick something out, and I was just thinking like, bitch, you done read that whole move wrong because I was
So,
looking at a message from
so you didn't even feel
one of my
comfortable telling her. You didn't even if you don't feel comfortable being vulnerable with your therapist, you might there's no point in it. I used to go to my therapist's office and
like,
just like get comfortable, put my feet up.
uh-uh.
Oh man, you need to like
It's,
put on a do not attend list.
right. I couldn't. I just was like, in no way. And my coworker, the same one, told me I need to go get one. She said that's unethical. I said I know, and but our last appointment, that's when I was just like, bye, girl, bye, because she was saying something to me because the way I reacted to a message I had received, and I was like, oh, and she had tried to call it out something. I'm thinking like she done misread whatever the hell was on my damn face. No, ma'am. No,
Wow.
ma'am. So, but being that I am unhealed, and it's gonna take a while for me to be healed, and so I think I'm always until I'm healed. I don't think I'm be 100% healed, but until I am to the point where I'm close enough to be healed, I will more than likely be the enemy because of my unresolved childhood trauma. And it's not like, oh, it's onesies and twosies. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and it's something that I don't sometimes pay attention to,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it's suppressed. And
Right.
so when it makes its Beetlejuice entries like Showtime, I'm like, oh, like okay. So, and that's what I'm like. I got to get myself in order. Like, I go back,
So how does that go over well when you have I'm sure my cousin has his own things as well.
girl. So,
So and it's not I know a lot of military couples, and unfortunately you guys are on the side of retirement and you're still together. A lot of them divorced after retirement because we didn't never knew who each other was all these years because you was going out, I was
yeah,
handling home, and now
yeah.
you come home every day and you grew, I grew, and we don't know each other anymore.
Let
So I
me tell
commend you for even sticking it out past that to figure it out.
So I tell anybody, and they be like, "Y'all gonna be all right, y'all all right," and stuff. And I'm saying, like, the one thing about it is that we have to figure out who we are,
Hmm.
and do we even like each other?
Well, yes. Marry. I always tell people. And I don't think people understand what I mean. Marry somebody you like, or you got to keep. You got to wake up every day. It's not about love, because you could fall
No,
in and out of love. All the
right?
20 throughout 20 years, you felt in and out of love. Because I'm past the 20-year mark too. So I
Mhm.
know you fall in and out of love. But you got the day I wake up and I do not like Kayla, we have a problem.
Yeah, and I tell people they going through it. I'm like, are y'all friends? Because at the end of the day, if me and him can get back together and we laughing over some bullshit, like, you seen that? Or looking
Right.
at some show, we laughing, we good. But we had to realize, do we even like each other? Because the youngest, Quentin, he graduated in the beginning of June. Osman retired at the end of June. So literally, we had 1 month and everything literally just happened at the
Mm-hmm.
same time.
Yes.
And he's done with the military, and Quinn's going off to school. Zara's already in school, so it's just like it's just us and these
Yeah.
damn dogs and a turtle. And it's like,
You got a turtle too.
look, what you said? We bought a zoo.
Yeah.
It's like, do we even like each other? Because we've been married since 21, we've been parents since 20, and it's been the whole time the kids in the military. There hasn't been an identity outside of that. So now we have
Wow.
to figure out, do we even like each other
Mm.
to be in the same space? Because you
Oh
will see so many couples, they don't be in the same space.
no, a lot of them they have separate bedrooms.
Yeah, they ain't doing the same things or whatever, or just trying just to
No.
like, and me and him, because we have always been friends. We can go out and people like, oh y'all, you want to go? Like when me and him go out with other people, it's like we don't see it as if we're married and husband and wife. We going out as friends. We laughing,
Right.
people watching. Oh, they hitting on you. They hitting on me. And we keep on going about our day. What
Right.
they look like.
And you can kiki about it on the way home.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, do we like each other? And we had to learn that, but at the same time, understanding like now he started to realize some of his childhood shit has to be unpackaged
Right.
because that same moments when I had with my triggers now, he's starting to deal with it. And it's like, man, you gotta get your shit in order too.
Right.
Mm-mm.
The slip showing too, buddy.
Yep,
I can't
yep,
imagine that with whatever military trauma there is.
yes. And some stuff he may or may not talk about. It's been sometimes it has been like years, and I'm like, huh? What is you talking about? You talking about using Iraq? What?
Right.
So, like, where did this come from? Oh,
What
so,
for you? What is what do you consider a generational curse?
mm. So one thing me and him talked about it because it's hard for us is that passing the baton to your kids. Why do your kids have to start off from the very beginning?
Right.
And that's one thing. Like we give because we didn't have. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we also it's what he always says a double-edged sword. But we live in these areas. We have these jobs to make sure they didn't have to grow up the way we grew up. And so why not? Here it is. And at the same time, it's just like, why are you trying to start from the very beginning when you don't have to?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I done sat here and I gave you something
That I didn't have
that I
because
didn't have.
I've been out there and I know
Yeah,
what you're gonna need.
I know what you're gonna need. You better take that motherfucker and haul ass.
Yeah.
And I also think for mainly Quentin, he says like they see everybody there, they got degrees, right? And so here I am, all the way up here, and kind of feeling like they don't have they have to go. You don't have to go, but you're not gonna start at the fucking bottom.
Right.
You shouldn't have to. You should not. Why would you want to start down and you don't want that life?
Yeah, from physically, a friend of mine, Hassan, talks about that. He's like, why can't we set our kids up for success? Why do you have to graduate college and then move out and go find a job? Why can't you come back home, college graduate, save your money? He has a huge family. He wants to build like a compound. He was like, I'm thinking about turning my. He just bought a house, him and his wife. He's like, I'm thinking about turning my garage into a 1 or 2 bedroom for my
Mm,
son and his lady, and his son had just got 2 small babies so they can save money.
yeah. Why
Why
can't we?
can't we have generations like the Kardashians have compounds? Their houses are on
Yeah.
a piece of land. Why do we set our kids up from the bottom? I don't know if my sister listens to my podcast, but we have a disagreement all the time about why is my son in private school? Because I want him to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? Like, and you know what? And that's like you said, because I want him to be. And it ain't your fucking business
Right.
because you're not paying for shit over here. So even with and it's other stuff that come with that too, because like even everywhere we have lived, we tried to make sure, except for our first place we lived, we didn't know where we was living at. But yeah, but every place we have lived, we have tried to live in an area where they could thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Why not? What is wrong with that? Why we gotta sit here and be down here and live in this kind of way? I don't want to live like that. I don't want you to live like I lived it.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell Jax about things. I said, man, keep your room clean, man. That's his. I tell him under the guise of I didn't have my own room growing
Hmm.
up for a very long time. I slept on the couch. Only thing he says is, "Oh, that's so sad, mommy. I don't want to." You lived a sad, but I was happy because I thought that was normal.
It was normal, so we wouldn't have known.
we wouldn't have known. And I tell sometimes I don't want to be like always have like a sad story, but bro, that's how I grew up. But in the midst of it, I was happy. But I'm letting you know it's not normal. So the things you have, I don't want to constantly throw them in your face, but you are you a step already ahead
Yeah.
already.
And you up here
And
beating yourself up on the inside, like, you know what? I'm about ready to take this.
yeah, yeah, and and
I
and
have
and 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 my thing is drinking
it.
and my temper. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are, for me, those are generational curses, like things I have to watch. My dad was a drinker, right? You
Mm.
know, our family we drink, and he wasn't like fall
Chenille.
down drink or whatever he did. But when he, for me, my memory is, he had a beard, and so when he
Yeah.
went to hug me, I always remember the smell. He smelled
Wow.
good, but I could remember the alcohol on his breath.
Wow.
And so my trigger is whenever I'm out drinking and I know I'm coming home and I want to hug, I want to hug my son. I want to kiss him, but I make sure I have a mint or something or like and
Mm.
I've never been unless Kayla's home. Like we both can't come in here tripping over shit. Somebody has because Jax is very aware of things. So he's been around us when we're having a cocktail, but
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to the point where I've never been not able to take care of him out of a trigger for my own triggers. And I'm like, like me trying to be so aware of what not to do
Right.
makes me a great parent. So when he don't listen, it makes me angry. And when he
Ooh.
don't listen, sometimes it makes me scared. Because if I'm telling you something not to do out of fear you're gonna hurt yourself, and you do it anyway, and you hurt yourself, my first instinct is I'm mad that you hurt yourself because I'm scared.
Mm. You know what? Listen, y'all alike because I tell
So
you one thing, Quinn got that honest from his father, and I'm just like, I'm seeing the same person.
yeah.
Get get that shit in order. You
Mm-hmm.
have to control your emotions. You have to learn how to control your emotions. That anger, I
Yeah.
told her, mm-mm.
That's what Kay be like, no, you too. And then she says to me, you have to get it in check because our thing is now, uh, when you go to these events in school, you worry about you. I want Jax to be able to tell me everything. Enjoy picking him up and tell me about my day. Was so and so nice to you? Because people touch kids and they make kids not tell. And so
Yeah,
I want to create a space where he tells me everything. And so sometimes he'll get home, he'll tell Kayla, and then Kayla tell me about how his day was. I was like, we drove home from school and he didn't tell me
right. He
that
can
part. She
say
was like,
nothing.
it depends on how you asked him or how you approach him. She was like, you have to be approachable, and sometimes you just aren't approachable because I
Mm,
have a lot of things. I carry things. I could be thinking about something. I could be thinking about money or financial issue, and I just got a smile on my. I just got I'm just like this at the dinner table, and
me and Kay
he
gotta
don't
have a
want to.
talk.
He don't want to talk to me if I'm looking like this all the time.
Of course, because I have to tell him because he has so many different injuries and they are at times they take a toll on him. And I'm sitting here and telling him, I'm like, if you don't speak up, the kids are thinking you're angry.
Yeah, that's me.
And they're looking like, well, I'll leave dad alone. And I told him, you need to speak up. You
Yeah,
need to let them know I am in pain. I'm not mad. You need to open your mouth.
that's me. Caleb, like, especially if I don't have my glasses on, I make up like if I don't want to hear her mouth, I'm like, oh, I'm squinting because I can't see because I don't got my glasses on, knowing damn well I'm pissed off about something or I'm going through something, and I'm just not processing the emotions. But what God did for me was He put me when we moved here, I went back into the field, so I drive a lot, and so that's my
Mm,
alone time where I get
yeah.
to go through it like Bruce Almighty when he had that moment when he was driving that car and he was losing.
Hmm.
That's me in the car sometimes, just from a song. A sad song can take me to a space, and I
Yes.
get to just drive and cry and have any emotion. I can come
Hmm.
back from a work trip like because I didn't release it all, whether I went to the
Yeah.
mountains
Hmm.
or whether like I said, whether it's a song. I try to come home if I'm going to New Jersey for work,
Hmm.
just the same, just as the sun is setting over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. It's
Mm,
something about sunsets for me that puts me in a great space of great memories. But you got to get that out, that anger, and it's not just that's
no.
a generation. I think that's a generation curse for us is our
Yeah,
anger
and I
because I
tell
see it in
him,
Jax.
you need to
Jax is
go.
angry too.
You need to go. Go on out. You need to go to. I'm not going. You need to go to jujitsu. Go on, head out.
She said, "Go ahead out."
No, no, no. You need to go on, head out. Go on ahead, and so you can feel better, so you can release it in a positive manner. Go on,
Yeah,
head out.
jujitsu. That's why we put Jax in jujitsu because I seen what how I seen his journey,
Hmm.
Osman's journey, to jujitsu. I didn't know
Hmm.
what it done for him. Like,
Yeah.
but when Jax comes home angry, I'm like, okay, let's go. Leave it
Hmm.
on the mat.
That's what I say. Leave it on the mat. When Quentin was in jujitsu, leave it on the mat. When he played football, basketball, lacrosse, leave it on there. Any child, they all angry on the sideline and doing put it in the game.
Again, so fear is a feeling that I can't control. And
Mm-mm.
apparently, so how do you approach it? Since
So,
we approach it as anger. How do you approach fear?
so you know when your mind is racing, your heart, it, everything is racing, right?
Yes.
But for some reason, I am the most calmest in those
Really?
moments here that it scares me because I am so calm. And um we've had some moments. And when I say I am the calmest versus him being on level 1000,
Yeah. Maybe that's how it's worked all these years, because it has to be a yin to a yang. Because it won't
I,
work if both of y'all angry about,
I am the
over
calmest.
fear.
Yeah, and my motto has been within the last couple of years is that you have to go through it and grow through it because
Yes.
our natural instinct is to go around it and avoid it.
Yeah. Because nobody want
So
to feel
go
that
ahead
pain.
and go through it. Yeah, go ahead and go through it and grow through it right now. Let's deal with it right now. But fear, I'm the most calmest, and like I said, it scares me
Right.
because how can you be so calm in this moment? But I also think it also goes back to me always being in survival mode, and like that was some shit instilled in me at a young age.
Right.
And so it's like I don't have time to sit here and process the shoulda, coulda, woulda, what's gonna happen. Mm-mm.
We gonna
Somebody got to
do.
be calm in the moment.
Yeah, that's K.
So I doesn't necessarily like activate to down the line, but in the moment, I'm the calmest, and it actually scares me.
Sometimes Jax is 9. Sometimes he gets so angry, especially
Mm,
when he wanna explain himself. Because for me, my generation, the more curses is talking talking back was disrespectful, right? Or
yeah, yeah.
asking why. When we were told to do things, we did it. We didn't ask why. But his
Hmm.
asking why isn't disrespectful. That's how his mind works. He just want to know why things work the way they work, and he's not being disrespectful. But for me, sometimes I don't have the patience to explain it. It's because I said so. And
Hmm.
if
They
he
want
can get
clarity,
angry,
but it's so funny
yeah.
because at that age they want clarity, and at our age we want clarity too.
Or I need like just go, bro. Like go do what I said. But why am I doing this? Because I said so. And then Kayla is
Hmm.
our intercessor. She the referee more get downs between me and the 9-year-old is
I don't know.
crazy.
It's
I'm like, yeah, it's insane. And so in my book, oh we here I can see you. Okay. So in my book, I speak about forgiving my cousin's murderer. Is there anyone, dead or alive, that you just refuse to forgive?
so it has taken me some years, like I would say prior, right? But right now, no, because forgiveness, that's for me.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said years ago, oh, baby, I'm like, mm-mm, I don't care. Nope. I don't care. I ain't about to be bothered with them. And they always talk about time heals all wounds, but nobody talks about how long.
Right.
It's like at some point I had to come to terms with you need to let it go and forgive yourself because you up here holding yourself hostage to a
Ooh.
situation that they may not even know they in. And they gonna
Yeah.
keep on going about their day. Here this thing is on your mind. You up here carrying this burden. Let it hang down somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's good because it takes a lot for me to forgive somebody, but I gotta let it go. With all the researching and writing and studying, have you learned something about yourself that you didn't know?
wait, what'd you say?
I said with all the researching and writing and studying for the the your doctorate,
Um,
did you learn something about yourself that you didn't know?
so a lot of my program,
During the time of your studying for your PhD, did you learn something about yourself that you didn't know?
yeah, I learned um I need to go ahead and get my shit in order because yeah, I wasn't like I said when I went back to school, it was no plan. And but I knew the program. I actually looked at it prior, but I was just like, okay, cool. But half of the program was about understanding and learning adult and child trauma.
Right.
So all of that was unexpected for me. And so little by little things started slipping out.
Wow.
And I had learned I need to get my shit in order.
That's good.
I really need to get my shit in order because it's affecting me. It's affecting the kids. It's gonna affect him. And anything that I want to do, I need to get it in order. And it's a lot of things that I have suppressed.
Mhm.
And then it was just like I'm reading, I'm doing the paper. I'm like, oh, you talking about me? Oh Lord, let me settle back a little bit. Let me close the book. I'll be back. I'll come back tomorrow. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like you learn everything else, the other half of the program, but I was just like, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready because even now, if you look up something about trauma or traumatology, they always talking about the physical injuries, like if you was in a car accident, you was burnt and stuff. They ain't talking about your mental at all. And
Wow.
so I'm just like, I literally was at some points I had to let me have like that outer body experience and become a
Mhm.
third person or whatever, and basically write about myself when it came to some assignments. And like I said earlier, I actually did have conversations with other people depending on what I chose my assignment to be on. But I learned that I need to go ahead and get my shit in order because now that we know as adults how we grew up is not normal,
Mhm.
and you don't want to pass some of them behaviors down. Even
Right.
though some of them pass down indirectly, you're like, oh man, I wish I could have done better.
Ooh.
I should have
That's
done
that's
better.
good because most parents don't want to be held accountable for their mistakes.
Yeah. And that's the big thing because at the same time, it's just like, how do we go about saying sorry?
Yeah. So again, we segueing the hell out of this thing. One of my questions was, one day I was walking down the stairs in my grandmother's house, and I passed
Hmm.
when you in one of the bedrooms, and Z was baby, and I just seen you
Hmm.
just rocking her, and that was a tough time for you there.
Hmm.
What advice would you give that Chanel?
Go home.
Yes.
You know what I'm hoping to But you know what?
You wasn't there
When I was
visiting. You
reviewing the
stayed for a
questions,
while.
I said, damn. I said, usually when people like will ask a question, they'll say, what would you tell your younger self? And here it is, you're thinking like, I would tell my younger self, da 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 da. You chose a specific moment,
Yeah.
and I had to really think about that moment, where I was at, what was going on, and I would tell myself to go home. You laugh, but yeah, I would tell myself to go home.
Right.
And the reason why I would tell myself that, because for one, how, like I said, none of this was normal for us. It was not nothing traditional about having kids. Like, all right, we're just gonna have kids. All right, we're gonna do everything else, and whatever happens, happens, right? But whatever happened was, I had to take a semester off. He was going to Korea that I didn't know about,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like I went there thinking I can get a sense of I's my family. So that's why I was there. And I would tell my younger self to go home.
Mm.
You don't
That's a
have to
powerful message.
you don't have to be
Think-
there to find out or get a feel of who Osmond is. You will be okay.
Right.
Zara will be okay. Osmond will be okay. All three of you together will be okay. You guys will come back together. It will be okay. But you don't have to necessarily be in that house to get a feel of Osmond as family.
I think that's a powerful message because I think it would have changed the trajectory, not of your life, but of relationships.
Mhm.
Because relationships ended up the way they did because of you being there and not because you was there. But your
Yeah.
being there created a lot of tension in
Mhm.
relationships that didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's great advice anyway for because a lot of people ask that question in different ways and they're like, oh no, if I gave myself some advice, my life trajectory would be different. But I totally agree with that. That's go home, girl. That's like get up, girl. In my book, girl,
Yeah.
go home, go
Get
home,
up.
Roger.
Get up. And you know what? I always tell people, or I used to say, I'll say to Osmond sometimes, I'm like, Azaria, I want her to have those girlfriends that say, get up, girl. You're not
Yeah,
about to say shit. And in that moment, I wish I had those girlfriends say, get up. Get the fuck up. Let's go.
right. Yeah,
Get up, girl. Come on. Go home.
time to go. That's deep. So I again, if my next question is what time in your a period in your life when you felt the loneliest? Was it during that time?
Um, yes, I would say when I was pregnant, probably right after, because being a young mother and the stigma that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't a lot of, congratulations. It was, I got cussed out.
Did you have a baby shower?
I did. It was very limited.
Okay.
It was limited last minute, but it
So you
wasn't
got cussed
anything.
out because they thought your dream was gonna be deferred because you got pregnant.
Yeah, I have had that. Yes. So, and those are some of the voices that I have suppressed.
Mm.
So it was just like basically as if me, Chanel Renee Wicker, at that time, I was going to be a statistic. So while you was on listening, I don't know if you recall when I said this, and I just like literally started crying during my dissertation and saying I was supposed to be a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
Said, but now you're a part of the statistics.
I heard him say that. You wasn't
And
supposed to
I
be
was
where you
like,
are. That's why full circle. Girl, I would be crying. I wake up crying every day. Because when you think about where God has brought you or where you come from or where you were supposed to be and you made it out,
yeah,
And then you look back
So
at people that's still in this shit.
still in the shit, still there. And then I'll tell people in a heartbeat, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. The girl is still in there.
Right.
Don't do that. But everything I did, it was for me. There was no plan of going to school. Congratulations. Went for my undergrad. I applied to school in May. I went to prom 2 weeks later, graduated about 3, 4 weeks later. There was no plan to go to school. I went to school because I was about to be homeless.
Mm-hmm.
So like none of the stuff was like normal. So when I said that and that conversation, I was like, oh Chanel, this is about to be a real vulnerable moment in front of all these people. Because mind you, like I said, I don't know how many people on here because I can't see.
It was a lot. You broke a record.
I felt the tears coming, and I was like, take the glasses off. Because bad enough the bitches kept on sliding off my face with everything else going on.
Sometimes vulnerability for me, I don't like to be vulnerable, but I feel like once somebody see your vulnerability, then they realize that they can trust you enough to for them to be vulnerable too. Y'all might be
Yeah,
two crying people. You get through the tears, but the conversations that arise, the great conversations that arise from vulnerability and humility are some of the best conversations that I have in my life. Some of the best
yeah.
ones revolving around
You
like
know what?
being
You're right. You're right. You're right. And those are the best conversations. And I'm just sitting here like, listen, I love when we can go deep and then we can come back and talk about whatever it is or whatever. I love that. And I also had to recognize not everybody really they ready to have those kind of conversations.
no, mm-mm. That's why I'm saying like
Like I'm not here to judge you. I'm just like we just having that conversation. Of course we're gonna have a difference of opinion.
yes, and we don't gotta argue. We could just disagree.
And we can move on. But that's how we learn. We learn from each other. Nobody's perfect, especially when it comes to this parenting. Ain't nobody's perfect.
Right, and your
And if
method is
you
not
come
gonna
to
work
me
for me.
and confront me,
And everybody's method is gonna be different. Different strokes for different folks.
yeah,
So it's good
yeah,
to have conversations with parents. Like, maybe I'll try that, maybe I won't. But I don't. I have
yeah,
my everything about my parenting is unconventional. We hung out with one of my friends yesterday, and I think I called Jax bro 3,000 times. Right, but on the other hand, Kate don't play that shit, bro. I'm your. Don't call me bro nothing. But he's so used to me and him having that way. He could be saying bro in a conversation, not referring to her, but just saying she don't want to hear bro or bro. That's her limit. Like, don't. I'm not your bro. You know,
yeah.
K
You
don't
got
play.
it early.
Yeah,
You got it early. Cause I'm about
he's
to say,
blessed.
we.
He's
So I was
he's
like, wait, what?
he's
What,
blessed.
bruh?
He's blessed. I think that the spouses in this family, it takes a special person to be a spouse to us.
Oh, mm, man. What round are we on?
And you know what? Roxanne say to me, "You got to I knew when to get off of that motherfucker."
Funny because it's like I think I just heard something the governor of Maryland say something. He was talking about his wife, and he was like when they got married, he did vows, and he said something like really slick in their vows, but she was like, "I'll be your defender," and I feel like that with Osmond.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I'm right there.
Yeah.
I'm right there for you. So, yeah, the ride is interesting, but will I take the ride away? No,
Good.
I'm
Oh
good.
yeah. Good. Yeah. That's good.
You know,
And for
it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, and he got a lot. He got a lot, and yeah, a lot of people ready to get up off the ride.
yeah.
I too got a lot,
Right. Right.
you know. So who am I to judge him? But let's do what we got to do to
Let's
work
do what we
together.
got to do and thug it out.
Yeah,
The last thing I'm gonna say, I'm gonna close this out with this. A lot of people from Newark say this
Mhm.
before they list their accomplishments. I'm just a kid from Newark. Blah
Mm.
blah blah. For me now, you more than just a kid from Newark.
I think that's right. I'm all emotional. Try to
So
figure a way.
every time you type that from now on, I'm like I'm more than just a kid from Newark. Because where we come from, that time frame, we wasn't expected to make it. You guys are homeowners. You left out a lot of accomplishments by being modest. You were home. You made it through the military retirement. You still got your man still fine. And I ain't saying that because he my cousin, but we fine still. You homeowners. You put two kids through college. You have one college graduate and one is about to. Who does that?
Yeah.
Who does that? So for me, you're more. You and him are more than just two kids from Newark that made it out. You're Dr. Chenille Wicker Johnson. That's who you are. And I just want to thank you for your honesty. Thank you for blessing the podcast. And I'm sure somebody's gonna look at this and maybe somebody's like, you know what? Maybe my therapist isn't right for me. Or maybe my anger
Mm.
is the motivator. So you dropped a lot of gems in here for me that I hope I normally make clips that I'm gonna make clips out of. And I hope people you get this. Use that anger for something.
Mhm.
Build your own
Yeah.
table and
Yes.
recognize when your therapist just cause you and don't let the bad therapist sway you from not going back. Find the correct one until you heal your shit, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look for your table.
Thank
When you
you.
build it, I'm looking for your table, and I'm excited for the next thing. And and
Thank
and
you. So I
thank
may
you.
come to a logo.
Yeah, yeah. Let that anger fuel you, and then let that anger fuel you, and move on to the next thing. You got two amazing kids that made it through the stoop. Like you got it out the mud, so they wouldn't have to. That's why I told my if Jax ever hear you say if Jax ever say he got out the mud, you better smack him upside his head because you ain't get nothing out the mud. You don't know about the mud, and I walked through the mud for you, so you wouldn't
Right.
have to.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I just thank you for coming on and give my big headed cousin my love. All right,
Putting
I'll
it on
talk to you
record.
later. All
All
right,
right.
thank you. Bye bye. Don't forget.
Bye.
All right.
Okay.